Hi, I'm life guide Jonathan Wachtel, and I'm here with Master Life Coach Mulan Reiter. And today we're going to be discussing fulfilling your life purpose and whatever else ends up coming along and flowing from that topic. So Mulan, thanks for joining me today.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Yeah, thanks for being so on board. So how do you want to start this off? What do you have in mind in terms of fulfilling your life purpose, that we actualize what we came here for, that we discover what we came here for, and that we actualize it? Where do you want to go with that? Where do you want to start?
I think the first step is actually to find your life purpose, right? I find this in my work. A lot of people, when they first get introduced to coaching, NLP work, or any type of hypnosis, they're like, I want to find my life purpose. I want to find something that I'm fulfilled doing. I can't do this anymore. You know, more and more people, I get to see this a lot. More and more people are just feeling lost in their jobs and their lives, and they're wanting and aiming towards finding their life purpose. And I always start with asking them a bunch of questions. And I think one of the first questions that I was asked, and this is how I found my life purpose, was, what is the impact that you have on other people, on your environment? And I found this very difficult for some people to answer it. A lot of my clients tell me, I don't have an impact over the people in my life. I mean, this is what I do. I'm a bartender, and I pour drinks all night, and then I go to sleep. I wake up in the morning, I do my exercise, and then I go back to work. Like, all right, what about the people that you work with, the people, your environment, your family, the people that you work with at the bar, or whatever it is that you do, no matter what type of job do you have. And then it makes them think. And I usually like to give this exercise to my clients, tell them, take a week and just ask every person that you know, what's your impact on their lives? And even if it sounds strange, you can ask them, what is it about me that inspires you? People come back after a week and they say, wow, I do have an impact. I mean, though I don't think I'm fulfilling my purpose or living a purposeful life, there is something that I do with my energy, with the way I walk and live in this world, that actually shows my purpose. And this is the first step in finding a person's purpose. I believe it always has to do with the impact that we have on the people around us. Because the truth is, although we are physical beings and each one of us is separate in a different body, we are all connected in a certain way. Some people get that, and they get that spiritual level, and some people just don't. You know, you have your life, I have my life, and how are we connected at all? But if you think about it, every decision and everything we choose to do actually impacts the people around us. So, for example, if we take a person that works in a hotel, I had a client once, and she worked in a hotel that hosted about 500 people each day. And she told me, I don't think I have an impact. And then when we broke it down, she realized that actually by her fulfilling her, like doing her job the way she's supposed to do, she actually supports many families, because she was a manager at this hotel, and all her employees, if she managed them well, they could stay at their job and they can actually feed their family. So she found a purpose in doing that. A lot of people think the purpose is outside of them. It has to be like a major career change. It's got to be like a major transformation in order to find their purpose. Well, actually, a lot of people don't realize that the purpose is actually what you do right now. You can find the purpose through that. Once you find your purpose, I think it's a lot easier to live life more peacefully or more passionately, meaning that you understand that whatever you do impacts others and vice versa. So whatever people around you are doing is connected to you, either if you understand this on a, you know, in your consciousness, or if you don't, but that actually has a large impact. And this is what I find. I think the first step in really finding your purpose is to ask those questions, to ask the people around you, to ask your mother, your father, your siblings, the people that are around you, the people you work with. How do I inspire you? In what way? And I know it's kind of odd to ask it at the beginning, but once you get the answer, from the answer, you can find your life purpose. And if it says that you're courageous and this is what you do, you inspire people by your courage or your enthusiasm, then ask yourself, am I in the right field? Am I fulfilling this? Am I bringing this into full potential by the profession that I chose, by the kind of lifestyle that I live, by what I do? Do I demonstrate all these values that I believe in? What people see in me, how can I get connected to that? So this is just my output for it. I would love to hear yours. I think it's probably similar, but maybe, as I learned from our previous conversation, probably has like a deeper depth into it. And I would like to know your thoughts about this.
Yeah, I find it very interesting the way that you answered that. I mean, ultimately, we could approach it in many different ways. Obviously, if we look outward and the outside world is a mirror of us, then we're going to be looking inward anyway. So it's interesting then to ask other people and get a window into ourselves in that direction. I would be inclined to direct people inward, actually, rather than outward. And either way, we end up with the same answers, because we're either going to see a reflection of ourselves outside, or we're going to be looking directly inward. So as far as discovering our life purpose, I would say that the main purpose is really, if we look at what our greatest struggles have been, our greatest obstacles, the things that we really had a hard time with in life, and then we look at what we've learned and how we're growing from them, and we see how we're overcoming them, then we can start to tap into what we're here to represent for the world around us. Because if we see what we've struggled the most with, and then we learn from it in order to overcome that struggle, in order to end up with what was once our greatest weakness as our greatest strength, because that's what ends up happening if we actually overcome our own struggles, then we represent that truth to everyone around us, that what it is to what it means to overcome that thing that we struggled with, because we know it intimately now, that we've dealt with it, that we've experienced the full spectrum of that. We've experienced the darkness in that area and the light in that area. We've experienced the overcoming of that. And so then when we can express that to others, just by being ourselves, by living our by challenging ourselves to grow in the areas that we find the hardest to grow in, and not in like a, I'm just going to challenge myself just for the sake of it kind of way, where we could easily end up climbing mountains we shouldn't even be climbing, but where we just found that we naturally felt like we had weaknesses in certain areas. And those are like clear indications, like, hey, this is what you want to start working on now. Like this is what you could be representing such a positive version of this if you learn and grow from it. And then to add into that, what were actually your greatest strengths? Because you'll find that then your greatest strengths, actually, that the natural strengths from the beginning, will combine with the overcoming of your weaknesses, and you'll find that you'll have this power to convey this message that's a combination of your greatest weakness becoming your greatest strength, and what you have previously felt your greatest strengths were, which were ultimately sort of just backups and supporters and contributors to this weakness becoming your greatest strength, which is the main core of it all. And then combined with what inspires you, what are you interested in, what are you passionate about, what do you really enjoy in the world. And then when you put all of that together, your greatest weakness becoming your greatest strength, the things that were your strengths all along, and what your greatest passions are, your interests, the things that inspire you, then you can put all that together and find what it's so clear that you're being called to do here. Because then you're doing something that it feels like I'm growing because I'm challenging myself to overcome things that used to be really difficult for me. I'm I'm working with the things that I'm clearly good at, and I'm really interested in what I'm doing. Like it's something that inspires me, that drives me, that I'm passionate about, that motivates me. So as an example of this, so it's not so abstract, like in my own life, understanding people was definitely my greatest weakness. I didn't get people at all when I was growing up. I spent my time like outside of school. I was learning about like black holes and time travel and time and space and trying to understand God through like mysticism and stuff, because all of that made way more sense to me than people. And I felt like for me, people were the black holes of the universe. I understood black holes much better. So then, and like, people and human emotion and the unpredictability of people was all just a mystery to me. And so I pretty much just gave up. I didn't even make an effort to understand it because it just seemed like it wasn't going to be understandable. And then when I was in college, then I was already starting to like delve inward. I was trying to discover my life's purpose in some way. I mean, that's basically what I was doing. But I wanted to know what the purpose of life was, because I wanted to know why I was going to be sticking around here. This was like high school into college, and so I was like trying to combine science and religion before college, and the theory of everything. And then in college, I was really trying to. I ended up like trying to figure out, how do I live each day? Like, it's one thing to like have some general purpose of life, but then, okay, but now how do I apply it? What do I do on a daily, basis? And then I was introduced to the Enneagram personality type system at the same time as I was taking a course about the Buddha's ideas about human psychology and practicing mindfulness meditation in the class, because the professor viewed practicing mindfulness meditation 10 minutes of every class as stepping into the laboratory and experiencing what the Buddha was talking about. So I was meditating morning and night, and I was also learning about people. And so when you combine all this and like learning about the personality types, and then I started to see these personality types in me. I saw these motivations in me, and I saw them in the people around me. And I was like, if people are actually like prioritizing these different basic motivations differently, then it makes sense what they're doing. And so that was the beginning. Then I combined, I ended up adding on other personality type systems, and then just paying attention to people. I mean, I was paying attention to people from the beginning. Once I had the personality type system, I was like, all right, so I have a basis for like paying attention to people and having a chance at understanding them. So then I was able to really delve into human experience and start to understand it better. And then that built into understanding human psychology much better, and like how we operate in the world, and obviously understanding myself better and understanding other people better, and how we create our lives, how our experiences internally end up creating the experiences that we have externally. And all of this like overflowed from beginning where people were a mystery to me, and my like process, my growth process has been in the direction of understanding people more and being more confident and more willing to go out there and speak to people and speak about people with people and like help them along. And ultimately, once I started learning about the personality type stuff, then people just started coming to me for advice. It was just natural. It was just what happened. So yeah,
sorry, what's funny about this is actually that you said at the beginning that you would send the person to look internally instead of externally, like to find the answer in an external source. But actually what you're saying is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that actually we get a reflection of who we really are through the people that are around us, right? So when you go through a transformation, then you get to see it in the world, you get to see it in your life. They say, like, if you want to get to know your unconscious mind, just look at your life, look around you, look at the people around you, look at the relationships you have, the life that you have, what you've accomplished, the challenges that you have. And I think it all really comes down to relationships in this physical world, because I think it's the relationship that we have with ourselves. It's the relationships that we have with the world, with the people around us, that can actually teach us a lot, right? Because when we're not in the physical realm, there are no relationships really. Everything is just energy. Everything just flows this way. And when we are in this physical world, we can learn so much through the relationships that we encounter in our life. And I think so back to that question before, how we find our life purpose, I think the root of it, obviously, it has to be in the relationship that we have with the world, because that is easier to see the reflection that we have through other people than to just look internally. Like for you, it was easier, like you said, it was easier for you to figure out these black holes and the way the universe operates than to actually figure out how humans operate, and psychology-wise, mentally, how they do what they do and how they make decisions. But then when you looked inside the relationship, you could have found like a new venue, like a whole new venue that opened up for you. And I'm surprised, because I think you're such a good communicator, and I would never guess you have any issue with like communicating with people and understanding the way people work. I think you're totally on the spot, and your way of connecting is just instantly. And it's funny how I'm pretty sure if I would meet you earlier in life, I probably wouldn't be able to recognize this as much as I'm able to recognize it right now. And I'm sure the journey is long, and it's not like that's it, the job is done, there's no more work, and you could just sit there and just have your life to just happen. You always have to keep working, right? We're a work in progress. Like I told you earlier, I just finished reading Many Lives, Many Masters. And he says what Dr. Weiss, Dr. Brian L. Weiss, what he wrote there is actually that in this physical world, the reason we come to this physical world, he deals with hypnosis. He does a lot of regression. He takes this client of his, Catherine, and I'm sure you read it, but he goes back and regress her to many different past lives and check up her status and all her fears and phobias. Everything comes from previous lifetime. And he, at some point, he gets to talk to these spiritual guides, right? This, however you call it, even if you don't believe in past lives, you can call it like this higher consciousness, or like a collective consciousness. I'm sure our audience heard these terms before. He said that these higher guides, what they said, the spiritual guides, is that we can learn how to become more loving, or more to have more empathy, and to learn lessons of life only through relationships. The relationships that we have, those are the ones who are supposed to teach us the most. And once we learn our lesson, then we move forward to learn more and more and more, until we become this beautiful, bright, shining, bright diamond that just can shine in the world. And we don't have to be in this like physical body. But as long as we are in this physical body and we're put here for a purpose, the highest purpose is just to find your flaws, or whatever it is that is holding you back, like fears, negative emotions, negative energy that you carry with you, to find it, recognize it, treat it, and let it go, so you can become this bright shining light. Like you said, you had this, let's call it like a negative trait, but although I don't believe it, but let's just put it this way so we can understand that you could communicate or really feel how you're connected to other people. But by working on it, you actually manage to really live a purposeful life, right? Would you say your life is purposeful?
Yeah,
Would you
definitely.
say you live each day like with this excitement about what this day is going to bring?
Yeah, as long as we're creating our experience in each moment, then it ends up being really exciting, because we get to experience it with ourselves, instead of tuning ourselves out or escaping from ourselves, where we're not there fully, where then it's not fulfilling. As long as we're creating our lives with ourselves, that we're on the same page as our thoughts, our feelings, our instincts, that we're imagining what we want to experience, and then we go in, rather than just telling ourselves we have to be doing it, or running away from things in ourselves. as long as we're doing it with ourselves, it's going to be really fulfilling. And that's really where we get at the purpose, which is it's just that we ultimately, in large part, create the purpose. It's just a matter of imagining the experience we want to have and then listening to ourselves about what the best path is to get there, so that we can actually be going with our internal guidance in that direction, that every part of us feels like it has a purpose because we're giving it a purpose. When we say, this is what I'd like to experience, I'm listening to you, then then every part of us has a purpose, and we can be totally aligned with going in the direction that we're going.
Totally. I totally agree. I think it's really about your belief, right? Like it's not the experience that happens to you that matters. It's the meaning you give to those experiences. It's the meaning behind it. You know, two people can grow up in the same family, have same set of values, have the same kind of life, but one of them is going to look at life, look at their environment and say, this environment sucks. Like, there's no way, economy is terrible. There's no way to get out of the loop. The other person, the other sibling, would say, this is a great opportunity. I mean, the economy fell down and this is a good opportunity for us to rise above it because people are now hopeless and they're looking for something to hold on to. So I'm going to go and take advantage of it. Who do you think is going to be more successful financially, or spiritually, physically? Of course, the person is going to find the positive aspect of it, right? So it's not really what happens to us. It's the meaning we give it and the decision we make in how our future is going to look like. Now, every time I do workshops around the world. Right now I'm in Tel Aviv, and last night I led a workshop. It was pretty intimate. It had 10 people at this beautiful place, and I talk a lot about the power of the unconscious mind and what we can do and how we can create our lives. And at the beginning of the workshop, I see people, each time I do this, I see people like looking at me like, okay, she just lives in a totally different realm and there's no way we could get that. And then through the workshop, you see after like an hour and a half, you see people like open up when they understand how powerful their unconscious mind, and they can, if they only want to, that's all they need. They just need to want to tap into that. They would have abilities to achieve whatever they want. By the end of the workshop, you see people are like, all right, so this is what I want to do. This is what I want to create. This is the type of life that I want to have. And then I help them to envision that and to really see the colors of it, the feelings of it, the sound of how it's going to sound when they get there, and how they're going to feel and what they're going to think. And then they imagine it, right? And when you can imagine something happen, you can actually create it. They say also in Kabbalah that I've been studying Kabbalah for the past 9 years, and I was born Jewish and love the Jewish religion, and I think all religions are great. In Kabbalah, I found that there are practical tools to actually, if you put those practical tools in your life, you're able to achieve almost anything. And in Kabbalah, it's pretty awesome because they talk about this collective consciousness, and they say, like, if you can actually imagine something that's going to happen, that means that you already possess the capability of achieving it. If you can't imagine something happening, then it probably won't happen. But if you can imagine something happening, negative or positive, by the way, most likely it can happen in your life. So if you have these negative thoughts of whatever, fears and things that come up and anxiety of the future that's going to happen, if you invest enough energy in that thought, you will attract it and create it in your life. The good aspect of it is that if you invest enough energy in creating your life and thinking and imagining how your life is going to be exactly how you want it to be, you put enough energy into it, your unconscious mind will create the opportunity. Because unconsciously, the unconscious mind or the subconscious mind, however you call it, does not differentiate between imagination and real life. Like fantasy and real life are both, for the unconscious mind, it's like it's already happened. So if you can really imagine something, then you can create your life. So when you find your purpose and you find your passion, even if you're very far away from it. Let's say you're a waiter that doing this, you know, to get more money so you could go to college. And this is what you do, but your life purpose, you find that the way you impact people is moving them and motivating them. If you can imagine yourself doing that, then the universe will do whatever it can to actually push you in that direction. But you have to be strong enough and courageous enough to be able to imagine it, how exactly it's going to look like, when it's going to happen in your life, how exactly it's going to take place. And of course, it's not enough to imagine it. You have to really initiate action to really make it happen. Like, take the opportunity. You have an opportunity to go to school and study this, then go to school and study this, even if it means that you have to earn less money, you know, or if you have to sleep less hours, or if you have to put your workouts aside because you have to invest in this. It's also a matter of how you prioritize. And if you decide, I think it all starts with a decision to start living a purposeful life. And I think that once you make that decision, you find what your purpose is through people, or to send them, like you said, inward and to try to find that. Once you find that, it becomes just easy. It becomes a lot easier. I think the first step is really to try to recognize it. When you recognize it, you find it. After you find it, you take action, and then you make it happen. And I find that not even enough, because I think that even if you make it happen, you have to constantly revisit this. Like, what am I doing? Am I living purposefully? Am the action that I'm going to take right now, is that going to benefit me in the long run? Or will that benefit me only in the now, in the right now? Will that like make me happy right now and then I'll feel empty? Or in the long run, if I give this up, will that make me fulfilled? Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Like, we always have to like revisit this and reinitiate this action towards purposeful life.
Mm-hmm. In talking about that, we could ultimately simplify this whole process. If we want to discover our purpose, all we really need to do is, I mean, because ultimately we're creating our purpose. So, like, I mean, there are aspects of it that we've created before we came into this life, but we're still the ones creating it. That we could simplify this by simply imagining how we'd like to feel in our lives, and really stepping into that feeling, even if we have no idea what physical things would lead to that, what activities, what people. We don't know any of the physical details. We don't know what the world might look like in that space, but we know what it feels like. So if we could just start to imagine what we'd like to feel, even if the way we have to get there is by starting with, this is what I don't want to feel, and then turn that into a positive. So what would I like instead of that? And then we could have what we really want to feel in life, that we'd like to feel alive, that we'd like to feel purposeful, that we'd like to feel passionate and awake and clear, and like we always have a clear direction, like we're living our purpose, like we're happy, we're fulfilled, peaceful, like there's so much love in our experience that you know, every day we wake up excited for the day. And if we just imagine what it would be like to step into that space, then immediately we're going to start coming up with things. And if it's not immediately because we've been too far separated from this experience of life, then it will be within the next few days that we'll start coming up with ideas that actually do fulfill us, things that actually would bring more purpose and meaning to our lives. And so if we just step into the feeling we want to be in, and we're consistent about doing that every morning we imagine how we want to feel at the end of the day, and every once in a while we imagine how we want to feel at the end of the week, the month, the year, 5 years, and just imagine how we want to feel then. And then we're going to end up coming up with ideas that support us in feeling that. Just like when you're feeling unaccomplished, then you're motivated to be unmotivated and not accomplish very much more. And when you're feeling really accomplished and successful, then it's like, I want to do more things. What else can I do that's going to make me feel like I'm more accomplished? So if you simply step into the feeling you want to be supporting with your actions, and that you want the world to support and you want other people to support, if you step into that feeling and act from that, then you're going to realize that there are doorways opening for you where previously you thought there were only walls. And so suddenly it becomes clear what to do, and then we're we're not only identifying the sort of like large scale purpose of life kind of thing, but we're actually able, we have a clear tool to use to stay on track in every moment. And then if we find ourselves straying, then we could ask ourselves, well, how would I like to feel? And then how would I feel after I do this? And if it feels good, then we go with it. If it feels bad, then we don't go with it. Because if we're plugging in an address and then we check with the GPS, you know, how would I feel after I do this, after I've already plugged in an address and the GPS says it doesn't feel good, then that's not on the way. If it feels good, then it is on the way. And so then we have this constant, you know, internal guidance system it's always available to us. It's just a matter of making use of it, and we could open up the world for us to create experiences that we actually want, where the physical details might be like not exactly what we expected, that we believed that we needed, because we don't necessarily need specific physical things, but that whatever it is that comes into the picture physically will support the feeling that we're going for, will support the internal experience that we really want.
I love it. It's so true. You know, I think if we need to like break it down, I think it's such a great tip. I think like I could tell you that what you said right now totally changed my state of mind. And I think that's what this is about. It's about, I mean, if we take action, everything we do is based on the way we feel, right? If I'm angry, I want to like go and like do something, take action in that sense. Or if I feel loved, or if I'm calm and peaceful, then everything we do is based on our emotions. And the way our emotions are created is by our state of mind. So we first have to reach the state, then the state leads to a thought, and that thought leads to a feeling. We already discussed this once, like a few months back. And then this feeling creates an action. So I think the real control we have on our lives is the only control actually we have on our lives is that our state of mind. And I think if we only imagine how do I want to feel, that already changes our state of mind, and therefore it changes the way I feel about a certain subject, and then I can manage to take action in a direction that will support me. It will support my goals, my purpose, or whatever it is that you'd like to achieve. So I think that's an amazing tip, and I'm definitely going to use it. It's a very, very good reminder. I think if you wake up in the morning, because we all have those mornings when we wake up and we're not feeling at our best, and that's all right. But if we only imagine, like, how do I like to feel? How would I like to feel at the end of the day? At the end of this day, how would I like to feel? And that if I would like to feel energized and happy or satisfied, then what are the things I need to do to get there? And that is totally a motivator. That would be like, yeah, get up and do it. You know, don't hit the snooze button. Like, get up and do that. So if the only question we need to ask ourselves in the morning is, how would I like to feel by the end of the day? How would I like to feel if we're not so, you know, if we don't have that general thinking, we can think, how do I want to feel in 2 hours from now? How do I want to feel by lunchtime? How do I want to feel in half an hour from now, you know? And that will determine whether I drink coffee and have cookies, or whether I make myself a power juice and a snack on some nuts and seeds for breakfast, right? That will totally make a difference in our small decisions, but so large on our bodies, on our physical aspect, and also on our emotional and mental aspect. Mm-hmm. I think that's an amazing tip.
And as you pointed out, like ultimately it's our relationship with ourselves. And what I would say is that's actually the most important thing, not our relationships with others, because our relationship with ourselves determines our relationship with others. And so ultimately, if we actually focus on a relationship with ourselves, we're going to be in a better space and interact with other people from that space. And so it will be a side effect that our relationship with others will be what we want it to be. So the focus should be that ideally we're treating ourselves the way we really want to be treating ourselves, that we want the way we'd like other people to treat us, that we're creating an atmosphere, that we're making choices that are in support of our fulfillment, of our happiness, of our joy, of making us feel loved by ourselves, that we care for ourselves enough to give ourselves the time and energy that we deserve, and you know, to make the breakfast that we actually would want, or whatever, you know, that would be good for us, that would make us feel good. and you know, in all the little decisions throughout the day. So ultimately then, like you said, our state of mind is what we have control of, not necessarily the physical world, except that by changing our state of mind, we change the physical world, because it changes the actions you engage in, where you end up being, with the decisions that you make, who you choose to talk to, who you choose to keep in your life, how, you know, what words you choose to say, and you know, all the body language that goes into that, and the emotions you express to the people around you, and the people you attract to you because of those emotions that you're expressing, and the lessons that you're learning at that moment because of the experience that you chose to create internally, because of the experience that you chose to step into, that you chose to think thoughts that led to feelings that you actually want to experience, that led you to be inclined toward actions that support you in those internal experiences and those feelings. And so if we could just focus on creating the world that we want to live in internally, then the world then will be inclined toward actions that create the world externally that we actually want. And our relationships outside will be an accurate mirror of exactly what we want in our lives.
Totally. I love, love, love it. I love talking to you. I think this was a great, great, great conversation. And I think a lot of people can benefit from it. I know I have, and I'm definitely going to share it with the world. And hopefully, you know, people will learn from it as much as I did. And I want to wish you a great day. I know you're in New York. It's kind of cold here. It got finally in Tel Aviv, the sun came out, and it's beautiful day outside. So I wish for you the summer will come faster and easier, so you won't have to have a lot of cold days. And I'm excited to do this again next week with you.
Yeah,
Thank
I'm looking forward
you
to it. I'm still enjoying the sunny weather, even if it's 45 degrees. But yeah, this was great. It was great to talk with you, and this was a great conversation. There was a lot of good stuff that came up here. Thank you for this.
Thank you so much.
All right, so we'll talk again, and thank you everyone for watching. Have a great day.